Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers. Super excited to have my friend and my colleague, Mitch Leff. He's the owner and president of Leff and Associates with us today. And of course, Mitch, as I'm opening the show, you know I'd get a phone call. That's just the way it rolls, right? But Mitch, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
And that's what I appreciate the laughter because, I will be talking about it today, business, whatever it is. But the moment I forgot airplane mode, you know what happens the moment you forget, right? That's how it goes. That's it. But Mitch, for those
and
people,
I just, as I said, I just turned my ringer off just so people don't bug me. I'm going to turn off all my email too. There we go.
That's what I'm going to do. This is a real show, folks, because Mitch and I are. Oh yeah. So what my phone? That was I don't know what phone that was. Something. Maybe it was a watch. I don't know. And, technology, right? But well, Mitch, we've got listeners and viewers from Atlanta and all over the place. But I've had the benefit of being on your show. You've been on the radio show. But tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got here, what you do.
Sure. So we are an independent public relations agency, and I've been doing PR in Atlanta for 30 plus years now, I think, is if I run the numbers. About 15 years with big agencies here in town. I was with Conan Wolf and Edelman, GCI Group, and then I got recruited over to Turner Broadcasting and did PR for their entertainment, their entertainment and their education division for a couple of years, and worked a lot with all the different Turner networks. CNN, TNT, Turner Classic Movies, what was then Turner South, the Cartoon Network, and had a great time there. But in 2003, I decided to start my own agency, Leff and Associates, and we're in year 18 now. So I think it's going okay so far.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna give it another 10 years or so until I'm sure it's gonna work out.
Right. That's right. Well, it's funny, Mitch, since we talked last time, I finally finished my doctoral classes. I'm dialed into my dissertation, and you should be very, very proud of yourself and your team because funny enough, small businesses, which are 99.9% of all of them in America, 500 or less people, most of them, a good bit smaller than that, don't even make it to the 5-year point. So this is minutia you wouldn't get elsewhere. That's the value of the show, right? So
right. That's true. That's true. I mean, there is most don't make it past 5 years. Most don't. I mean, the number that make it to a second generation, if it's a family-owned business, or even smaller, and the numbers that go like 3 or 4 generations are minuscule.
Exactly.
Under family ownership. But we specialize in kind of generally what's called public relations, but it's media relations, it's crisis communications, it's media training. So we work with clients across a wide spectrum. So we do business services, we'll do nonprofits, we'll do companies in education, in sports marketing. We've done a lot of work with the Olympics and related NFL, Super Bowls, that kind of thing. And it's really about finding the best way, the best channels, and the best tactics to communicate what their messages are. And we always kind of go in there and start with, who are you? Who do you want to be? Because so many companies, when we come into it and start with them, we say, what's your key message? So we really help them kind of really think through that. Who are you? We call it the elevator pitch. Back in the days when we rode elevators,
right?
We would
right.
We would say, if you get in the lobby, get in the elevator in a lobby with someone, and you don't know whether they're going to the second floor, the 5th floor, the 12th floor, you got to figure you got 10 or 15 seconds just to answer that. Hey, what are you up to lately? What are you working on?
Exactly.
And you really need to be able to do that. I mean, we've done this kind of training for forever, for 25 years with clients, where we will ask them that open-ended question, and 15 minutes later they stop talking.
I know, right?
And I'll say, that's great, but you got to do that in 30 seconds.
You got to do it in 30 seconds. It's funny you say that. So in one of my books was pulling in like the why factor, and I said what I suggest. It's like ping pong. Like if you said, Mitch, Ryan, what do you do? Like, I'm in the business of helping other people. And you're like, well, you may not even really care, but you've now asked a question on the elevator. Go, are you like a pastor, or like, well, no, but I do work in the sales and marketing field to help people. Like, well, like, are you an agency? But you pull them in, right? And a lot of times, but to your point, 99 out of 100 times I watch people go and they either can't answer the question or it just keeps going on and going, okay, no elevator's that long. You might be looking
Right.
for a train ride or something. But, anyway, that's just spot on.
Well, and a key part of communications is not just speaking, but listening. So you don't necessarily want to be the person who's talking for 15 minutes and not give the person you're talking to a chance to respond at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about this time. I mean, we've been in a pandemic, which is a crisis. We talked to you and I talked before air about, partnerships and networking. What are some of the things you advise people to do, especially during this last, I guess we're almost at 14 months, what have you done or recommend to your clients, people to do to stay connected, and with your network or your customers or whatever?
Well, the opportunities really to network and partner are still there. They're just a bit more challenging. You can't go to bars and shake hands and hug people and drink with them physically, but you can do Zoom meetings and go to meetings and Microsoft Teams and all of those kinds of things. It's a matter of being creative and figuring out what works for your group. I've been really trying to help people who are not as well networked, who are used to relying on that in-person kind of networking, to use technology tools to network a little better. We have a group of independent PR people in Metro Atlanta and around the state, and we work together a lot and we collaborate. But I started a Facebook group a couple of months ago, and we do a lot of back and forth on the Facebook group talking about new business leads and best practices, and people have hey, questions about I need a graphics person, I need a lawyer, I need my clients having this problem. So we have that back and forth. But then we started a weekly Zoom lunch meeting. So every Thursday at noon, I turn on the Zoom, and whoever wants to have lunch with me will have lunch. And sometimes it's 2 or 3 people, sometimes it's 10 people. And we just talk about whatever the group wants to talk about. Sometimes it's new business, sometimes it's new media outlet that has popped up in town, whatever the subject is, or we just talk about nothing related to work at all. It's a way to kind of escape a little bit too. But it's important to kind of make time for those kinds of things. It's very easy to be so busy that you don't make time for the network. That's really important.
Well, you mentioned, I know you talked about, but it's something I'm going to actually do later today, is exercise, or create time to, like you said, purposeful time. I'm not sure. I guess if you're a business owner and you've been working, more remotely or whatever, it's almost tempting to work more than you ever have before,
Well, absolutely. Especially when the lines between your office and your home are not existent. If you work from, even if you have a home-based office that's separate from the rest of the house, that's one thing. But a lot of people are working in their bedrooms or their dining room tables or their kitchens or on the couch.
Right.
So when does work stop? Right. If you're on your phone or your laptop, then the emails never stop. The work theoretically never stops. So you've got to set boundaries, and you got to set a schedule. You got to say, I'm going to start work at 8:30 every morning, and I'm going to be done at 5:30.
Right.
And yeah, maybe some days you have to work later and you got to do some work in the evenings. That's fine. That happens. But you don't want to make it a working 18 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week kind of thing.
I think Mitch, my wife, is going to want you to just keep talking in my ear about that, because she's like, what are you doing? It's so tempting recently to try to get one more thing done, one more thing done. And yeah, no, it's important. So we got a lot of leaders and business owners that listen to the show, and realizing we're all in this together. We got a network, we got a partner together, but we also got to balance all parts of our life.
Yeah. The exercise part, I think, is really important. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, are not comfortable going to gyms right now for health reasons. But, I've been I try to walk every day, a couple of miles, at least in the morning and or the afternoon, if I can do it, and weather permitting. I do have a treadmill here in my office complex that I can do like a walking meeting sometimes. I'm not going to do it right now.
Okay, good.
But I can set it on I'm not running, I'm just walking. So I'll set it on like 1 or 2.
Okay.
So I'm just moving, and I got a little thing I can put my laptop there, and I can type and whatnot. So you don't work up a sweat, but you're getting out of your chair and you're moving.
Right.
And the other thing I just got, see, I can't, you can't see it from here. I got one of those big exercise balls.
Yep.
So, an hour or so a day, I get out of this chair and sit on the exercise ball. So it forces, it's a different use of muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And, it costs like, they range from $20 and up to get these exercise balls, and you got to, make sure it fits your desk right. But it's another way to kind of get yourself moving a little bit, and because otherwise you're just kind of lounging in your chair, and it's not necessarily the best use of your muscles, and keeping yourself fit.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at all these things behind you. Got Mitch's media match. You've got Leff's Atlanta media, all this stuff. But you've given me like 3 tips: having lunch with people through Zoom, sitting organically, whatever is ergonomically correct. Because I'm sitting straight right now, but the tendency is that, so I'm doing it for this. And what was you've given me so many tips. You might have to have Mitch's tip hotline. I mean, Mitch's hot tip of the day. Yeah.
PR and health and wellness, right?
That's what I'm thinking. You got a community, like here's a little thing. I mean, you got the Facebook group, you got all kinds of things going on. I mean, so that's why people got to do business with your firm, because at the heart of all of this stuff is creativity and passion for it. And that's cool. But no, I agree with you. My watch tells me one more time when I'm in a area I can't move. I don't have, your progress is really depressing today. I'm like, I know I've sat on a chair all day, but
it's time to get up.
It's time to get to breathe. It tells you to breathe. Right. But I like something we were talking about before, and I really relate to this about some of the pandemic, and before, back 12 years ago, we were talking about the Great Recession. We had 9/11 before it. Uncertainty, and this is a community connected show with all kinds of leaders and people listening to it. But to a certain degree, yes, we were in a pandemic, 100%. But aren't business owners to a certain degree always a little bit in a state of uncertainty?
Yeah. I mean, if you're running your own business, you're always in that either mild to severe state of uncertainty. I mean, you've got, when I started my business, my first year, we picked up some clients, and then at the end of the first year, I had this uncertainty as to whether the clients were going to renew for the second year. And then every year, there's a little bit of, are they going to renew next year? So I started kind of staggering the renewal dates, right? So they don't all renew on December 31st. So you'll have some renew in the spring, some in the summer, so there's that, and diversifying. So I mean, at one point I had one client that was 75% of my business.
Exactly.
And that was great, but it scared the crap out of me.
Right.
Because I knew that if that client went away, I was going to be hungry. Mm-hmm. So uncertainty should be part of your business plan. You should always be thinking, what happens if this client goes away? Do I have something else in the pipeline to replace it with? So the only times in 20 years running my own business that I've really struggled is when, strangely enough, I was so busy that I didn't have new business in the pipeline.
Right.
And then I lost 2 or 3 clients, and all of a sudden I was scrambling to keep up. So I always try to keep 2 or 3 prospects in the pipeline.
Right.
And some of them are long term, some might be short term, some might be projects, but always kind of be thinking, do I have a couple of prospects in the pipeline in case something happens? And know that don't be afraid of the uncertainty. Kind of accept it,
right.
And plan for it. There's a line in that movie Armageddon where one of the crazy astronauts goes, embrace the chaos.
Embrace the chaos. That's what I was thinking.
Embrace the chaos. It's not necessarily chaos, but embrace the fact that you're not in a perfect world. And honestly, even if you work for someone else or another company, there's always that uncertainty of, am I going to get laid off?
Yep.
Am I going to get transferred to El Paso, where I don't live in El Paso? Now, love El Paso, but my family is in Atlanta. I'm going to get myself in trouble now. People in El Paso.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm going to be on El Paso Twitter hate.
Yeah, we love El Paso. # love El Paso. That's what we need. That's what we meant to say. Yeah, absolutely.
I love El Paso. I'm going to El Paso as soon as this As soon as I can
No,
travel there,
me
that's where I'm
too.
going.
Maybe we'll go on a
Going out
train
past.
and we'll
I
practice
got there. We go.
we'll practice elevator speeches.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's
what we'll do.
right.
But no, I agree with you. I think that one thing I want to switch gears to is home-based working, using technology with Zoom. I asked an earlier guest, Mitch, about this. I said, there's some meetings that in my career, you and I probably had done 8 million meetings just like you have, but there's sometimes I love face-to-face stuff, but there's other times you can knock out something with the virtual meeting that I think we may have discovered through this pandemic. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have, I've had a lot of clients over the years that wanted to meet, weekly or monthly or every other week. And that's important. You want to be in front of your clients, but sometimes it took longer to get to the meeting than the meeting actually
Right.
took. So you drive half an hour, meeting takes 20 minutes, and you drive half an hour back. So, productivity wise, that's not necessarily the most productive use of your time. So you got to kind of figure out, okay, do I need to do that? But I think I've had several clients who've kind of realized how much that is saving them and us in terms of time. I mean, I had a client, this is probably going back almost 15 years. And I was meeting with them 2 or 3 times a week, and they were in Midtown. And I said to him, we need to set up like video camera technology or something so we can cut down on my travel time. And I figured it out. I said, I can save you $10,000 a year in professional time if we do this. And the guy was like, wow, I had no idea that was not, that not necessarily wasting time, but I had no idea that there was that much unproductive time in travel. And people will try to, they'll try to throw in phone calls in the car or something like that, but that's not always the most effective or the safest thing to do either.
Right. Well, it's true though. I mean, in Atlanta, for my Atlanta-based clients, I mean, quite frankly, now we're limited if you're, in any metropolitan big city that's listening to the show, but if it's much before 10 and much after about 2:30, when your meeting ends, you're gonna be sitting in even a longer traffic for a meeting that probably took 30 or 40 minutes. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
I think some of the boards and councils I serve on, they always had this mandatory attendance, maybe it's on a weeknight, whatever. But I think my gut guess is I think there'll be some hybrid models where there might be some in person, some online. So Mitch, I was thinking in Atlanta with traffic, if you're almost crazy if you or any other big city, if you have a meeting begins much before 10 or much after 2:30, you're going to be even sitting longer than we discussed earlier, right?
Yeah. I make it a practice is 99% of the time not to schedule any meetings before 9:30 or any meetings that end after 4.
Exactly. And that's I'm fudging a little bit on that because some of mine go longer than that, but yeah, you've been in this city and other big ones, you'll spend a lot of time. But let's talk about, as we kind of come to a close, what's the best piece of advice you've been given since this pandemic started?
Best piece of advice.
I mean, is it networking with people? Is it, keeping your, because you gave me 3 ideas earlier, but I mean, it's maybe
Yeah, I think, and then we talked about networking a bit, but I think the most important thing, I think, is to think about where you are on the other side of this. And back in March, we thought the other side of this was going to be August or September. Now we're a little bit, but there is going to be another side to this. So you need to be looking at clients, talking to your prospects, even if people aren't going to hire you today, they might hire you 6 months from now. And if you can build relationships now when you've got the time and they've got the time to talk, that's going to pan out for you down the road. So have the long view. Think about, okay, can I touch someone? Can I give someone a basic overview proposal, capabilities presentation? You can do it by Zoom. Say, I want to take 10 minutes, tell you a little something about me. I know you probably can't hire me right now because business is crappy, but when people are vaccinated, when everybody goes back to work, your business is going to pick up again. And that's when you're going to want to plan a place at that point to market yourself. I always tell people, the one thing that people don't think about in they're doing their business plans is they don't put PR and marketing in their business plan. They'll put in, hey, I need to pay for electricity. I need to pay salaries. I need to produce my products, but they don't put in budget for marketing.
Yep.
And if no one knows about your product or service, then no one's going to buy it.
Exactly.
So you've got to work that into your business plan. And whether you give it a budget line of, $500 or $50,000, you need to think about how much can I spend on this, and maybe you tier it up and say, in the first quarter I'm going to spend more, and then spend a little bit less as we get more established. But you've got to have that in there. And people get scared about PR marketing. They don't know what it costs.
Yeah, no, Mitch, you're spot on. And I think that's the thing. We've all got to be thinking ahead. We always got to be doing this in business, but our pipeline is our future. While we're working on our current clients, we've got to be thinking of new things. And like you said, ready for a seat at the table to talk about things, even though it's maybe not today. I agree with you 100%. And lastly, people, to your point, don't seemingly ever see marketing as some kind of PR, some kind of expense. And I'm like, well, to your point, if people don't know you're there, or you're branding to keep your name out there and say, we're good at what we do, but we want to keep this front of mind, well, then you're not even in the game. And so that's right. A constant battle. But the smart business people get it. They know that. The other people think some magically they're going to put a few things on social media and is like a magician. That doesn't work that way. Send out random, doesn't work that way. Well, Mitch, I would want to make sure, because you do. Yeah, I get your newsletter. I really enjoy it. You connect people. You have sources behind you. Your Mitch's Media Match. You've got, I was reading the other day. I'm sure, well, once we get this show out, you'll share that with some of our colleagues. But best way to reach you is it leffassociates.com?
Yeah, it's Mitch at leffassociates.com. And I'm on Twitter, Mitch Leff PR. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I make myself really, really easy to find.
You seem like a PR guy.
Yeah, it's funny. People will tell me, sometimes every once in a while, someone will say, well, I couldn't find your number. I said, you really didn't try very hard.
When I say to that, Mitch, I say, there's this great new thing called, you got to go GOOGLE, and you just type it in. They're like, and they're sitting there and they're like trying to GOO. I'm like, okay, you didn't get the joke, but yes, okay. You're very findable, very helpful, Mitch. And I appreciate our friendship and having you here on the Community Connection Show today.
Very good. I appreciate talking to you, Ryan.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to close this out, folks. You've been listening to Community Connections with Ryan Sauers, special guest Mitch Leff, leffassociates.com, or Mitch at leffassociates.com. Mitch, again, thank you for your time, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon on another Community Connection Show.